Do you ever feel like the world around you is moving faster than you can keep up with? Like you've just sat down with your morning coffee, and suddenly it's already late afternoon, and the day somehow slipped right through your fingers? I know that feeling all too well. And if you're anything like I was, in your mid to late 60s, you might have caught yourself thinking, is this just how it is now? Always rushing, always tired. I used to believe that slowing down was something that happened to you as you got older, not something you chose. But somewhere around my 69th birthday, I realized I was wrong. Not just a little wrong, but completely. Slowing down, it turns out, can be one of the most powerful decisions you make for yourself. And I want to share that journey with you, because it changed my life in ways I never expected. For most of my adult life, I was what you'd call a go-getter. You know the type, up at the crack of dawn, to-do list in hand, always chasing the next task, the next project, the next something. Retirement didn't stop that mindset either. If anything, it got worse. I filled every hour with something productive. Volunteering, home repairs, helping with the grandkids, even trying out a few online courses because I felt guilty having too much free time. I didn't realize it then, but I had no idea how to just be. And when the quiet moments came, I'd get anxious, like I was doing something wrong. It wasn't until I had a scare, just a mild one, a little chest flutter that landed me in the ER, that I even paused to think about what I was doing to myself. The doctor looked me square in the eye and said, "Your heart's fine, but your stress levels aren't." That hit me, because I thought stress was for people juggling careers and raising kids, not for someone almost 70 with no job and a backyard garden. But stress doesn't care about your age. It's sneaky. It can creep in when you're overcommitting, when you say yes to everything, when you never take a moment to breathe. So I went home from the hospital that night and sat on my porch. Just sat. No phone, no book, just me, a blanket, and the sound of the crickets. And you know what? I couldn't sit still for more than 5 minutes. I was twitchy, restless, like I was forgetting something important. That's when I realized I had forgotten how to slow down. I didn't even know what that felt like anymore. It took some time, and I'll be honest, a lot of discomfort, but I started making small changes. I stopped packing my days to the brim. I began saying no without guilt. I swapped my fast-paced morning walks for gentle ones, with no destination in mind. I even started keeping a journal, something I hadn't done since high school, to write about how each day felt, instead of what I'd accomplished. And slowly, something unexpected happened. My mornings felt lighter. My thoughts became clearer. I was less tired, less reactive. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peaceful. One of the biggest changes I made early on was with how I approach my mornings. I used to think the best way to start the day was with a long to-do list and a cup of strong coffee. But now, I begin my day in quiet. I sit by the window, sometimes with a cup of herbal tea, and I just watch. The sunrise, the squirrels, the light changing on the trees. It might sound simple, or even silly, but this ritual grounds me. It reminds me that I'm part of something bigger, and that not everything needs to be rushed. Slowing down also changed how I connect with others. Before, I would call a friend or visit my daughter while half thinking about the next thing I had to do. Now, I give people my full attention. I listen, really listen. Conversations feel deeper, more meaningful. I've even reconnected with old friends because I finally had the time and the mental space to write letters again. Yes, actual handwritten letters. And let me tell you, nothing compares to the joy of finding one waiting in your mailbox. Another shift was in how I approached my body. I used to push myself, thinking I had to keep up with my younger self. But now, I move with more awareness. Gentle yoga in the living room, stretching in the garden, sometimes just dancing slowly to an old record. It's not about burning calories or breaking a sweat anymore. It's about honoring this body that's carried me through decades, giving it grace instead of punishment. One afternoon, I took a walk without my phone, something I hadn't done in years. I wandered slowly through the park, watching the ducks, stopping to admire the wildflowers. A little girl waved at me and smiled, and I smiled back. It was such a small thing, but it felt like a gift. That moment would have passed me by if I'd been in a rush or scrolling through messages. Slowing down lets you catch life's little joys, the ones hiding in plain sight. Of course, not every day is perfect. Some mornings I still wake up feeling restless or fall into old patterns. But the difference now is that I notice it. I pause. I ask myself, what do I need right now? Sometimes the answer is a nap. Sometimes it's calling a friend. Sometimes it's just stepping outside for some fresh air. And that simple act of tuning in, of listening to myself without judgment, has made all the difference. I remember telling a neighbor about this new pace I'd found. She laughed and said, "Sounds like you're finally retired." And I laughed too, but inside, I thought, no, I'm finally living. Not chasing, not pushing, just being present and finding joy in that presence. What surprised me most is that this slower way of living didn't make me feel older, it made me feel younger. More alive, more open, like I'd peeled off layers of hurry and noise that had been weighing me down for decades. And it wasn't just about slowing down my body. It was about slowing down my mind, letting thoughts come and go without grabbing onto everyone, giving myself permission to not have all the answers, learning that silence isn't empty, it's full of possibility, full of peace. Slowing down didn't mean giving up on life. It meant showing up for it more fully. There was one morning, about a month after I really started leaning into this slower rhythm, when I was sitting out back with my old mug of tea, cracked on the handle, but still my favorite, and I watched the neighbor's dog roll around in the grass like it was the best thing in the world. And I caught myself smiling. Not one of those polite smiles you put on when someone talks to you, but a deep, genuine grin that just bubbles up without warning. It made me realize how long it had been since I'd felt that kind of joy over something so simple. Not an event, not an achievement, just a dog being happy, and me being there to see it. That's the thing about slowing down, it opens your eyes again. Things you used to overlook suddenly glow with importance. You stop seeing things as background noise and start noticing the little details that make life beautiful. The way sunlight dances on your kitchen floor, the sound of your old clock ticking in the hallway, even the texture of warm socks right out of the dryer. All of it becomes more vivid, more alive, more sacred. I also began to notice how my relationships started to shift. My granddaughter, who's 10, told me one day, "Grandpa, I like coming to your house because it's quiet and calm." That just about melted me. Kids pick up on energy, and she could feel that mine had changed. Instead of rushing through visits, I now sit with her on the porch swing. We draw, we talk about her favorite books, sometimes we just listen to the wind in the trees. There's no agenda. And because of that, we've gotten closer than ever. I used to think I had to keep busy to be useful, that if I wasn't doing something measurable, then I was wasting time. But the truth is, some of the most meaningful moments in life can't be measured at all. You can't put a number on the value of a quiet afternoon with someone you love. You can't log the worth of sitting alone and letting your thoughts float by like clouds. Those moments may look small from the outside, but they're enormous in here, in the heart. One change I made that helped me embrace this slower life was simplifying my surroundings. I started decluttering, not in a big, dramatic way like you see on TV, but just little by little, one drawer at a time. I let go of things that didn't serve me anymore. Old clothes I never wore, gadgets I never used, papers I'd saved just in case. And as the physical clutter left, so did some of the mental clutter. My home began to feel lighter, more peaceful. I could breathe easier. That peace spilled over into my daily routines. Instead of waking up and immediately turning on the news or checking messages, I now start the day in silence. Just 5 or 10 minutes of stillness. No phone, no TV, no agenda. It's not meditation in the traditional sense. I just sit with myself and see what comes up. Sometimes I think about the past. Sometimes I plan for the day ahead. Sometimes I just sit in gratitude. But starting the day that way sets a tone. It tells my body and my mind, we're not in a race today. And believe me, it's not about being perfect or calm all the time. Some days I still feel a little scrambled. There are mornings when I forget to breathe and evenings when my mind wants to dwell on worries. But the difference now is that I catch it. I recognize when I'm speeding up, and I know how to slow back down. It's like learning a new dance. At first, you stumble, but the more you practice, the more natural it feels. And soon, you find your own rhythm. Even things like cooking have become more enjoyable again. I used to see it as just another task, something to check off the list. But now, I take my time with it. I'll chop vegetables slowly, savor the smells, put on a little music. Cooking has become a form of self-care, not a chore. I make simple meals with ingredients I love, and I sit down to eat them without distractions. Sometimes I even light a candle, just for me. And I think, why didn't I do this sooner? Another thing that's changed is how I deal with uncertainty. Before, I needed to have everything planned out, scheduled, controlled. Now, I've grown more comfortable with not knowing. Not every question needs an answer right away. Not every moment needs a solution. Life has a way of unfolding, if you let it. And in the space between doing and waiting, you often find the most profound peace. One rainy afternoon, I sat by the window and watched the drops trickle down the glass. I used to hate rainy days, saw them as inconvenient. But that day, I didn't reach for a book or turn on the TV. I just sat and watched. The sound of the rain tapping against the roof, the soft gray light filling the room. It felt like the world was giving me permission to rest. And I took it. That moment might sound small, but it was deeply healing. Because I realized I didn't need to fight the stillness. I could lean into it. A friend of mine called recently, someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. He asked what I'd been up to, and I said, "Not much, honestly, but I've never felt more full." He laughed and said, "That's the best thing I've heard all week." And he was right. Sometimes not much is exactly what we need. We live in a culture that praises hustle and multitasking and being constantly available. But at a certain point, all of that wears you down. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to buy into it anymore. You can choose something different. You can choose slower. One of the most powerful things I've done is allow myself to be fully present during the in-between moments. Waiting in line at the store, sitting in the car before going inside. Those used to feel like wasted time. Now, I use those pauses to breathe deeply, to check in with myself, to appreciate the little things, the laughter of children nearby, the warmth of the sun on my skin, the feeling of being alive and okay right now. It's a kind of freedom I never knew I was missing. I also started spending more time in nature, even if it's just the little park a few blocks away. There's something about being surrounded by trees and birds and sky that resets you. Nature doesn't rush. Trees don't hurry to grow. Birds don't worry about their schedules. They just exist, fully and peacefully. And when you spend time around that kind of energy, it starts to rub off on you. You begin to remember that you, too, are a part of something natural, something slow and beautiful. Letting go of the need to constantly do has made room for simply being. Being with my thoughts, being with my memories, being with the present moment in all its imperfect, beautiful simplicity. There was one particular evening not long ago that stays with me. I was sitting on the porch, same chair, same old mug, the sun setting soft and low across the tops of the trees. I could hear the distant laughter of kids playing down the street and the hum of a lawnmower finishing its job for the day. Everything felt quiet but alive. I looked around, took a slow breath, and thought, this is enough. Right here, this is enough. That moment didn't come with a big achievement or a special occasion. It wasn't anyone's birthday. It wasn't a holiday. It was just an ordinary moment. But somehow, in slowing down, it became extraordinary. That's what this whole journey has taught me. That when you stop running, stop chasing, stop trying to squeeze more out of every second, you begin to see what was already there all along. It took me nearly 70 years to figure that out. And you know what? That's okay. Some people learn it earlier, some later. But there's no wrong time to start. The important thing is simply to begin. Begin by noticing. Begin by breathing. Begin by deciding that your worth isn't tied to how productive you are or how much you're accomplishing. Begin by believing that your presence, just your presence, is enough. I've talked to friends around my age who are scared of change. They say things like, "I'm too old to start something new," or "That's just the way I've always been." And I get that. Change can feel like standing on the edge of a cliff when you've always stuck to the trail. But here's the truth. Slowing down isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you really are underneath all the pressure and expectations. You already have everything you need to begin. You don't need special tools, fancy books, or perfect circumstances. You just need a little willingness and maybe a little quiet. And from there, the rest unfolds. One thing I've started doing recently is writing letters. Not emails, not text messages, but honest-to-goodness handwritten letters. It started with just one, a note to an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. I sat down with a pen and paper, no distractions, and just wrote from the heart. I told her I missed her and that I hoped she was doing well. And you know what? She wrote back. We've exchanged 3 letters since then, and every time one arrives in my mailbox, it feels like Christmas morning. Slowing down brought that back into my life. Something simple, meaningful, and completely unexpected. I also spend more time doing absolutely nothing. And I mean that in the best way. I'll sit in my chair with a blanket and just let my thoughts wander. No book, no show, no phone in my hand. Just me in the moment. At first, it felt strange, like I was supposed to be doing something useful. But after a while, I realized that being still is useful. It helps my mind settle. It gives my body a chance to rest. And it connects me to myself in a way that constant motion never could. And in these quieter times, I found myself reconnecting with memories. Some are bittersweet, faces of people I miss, places I haven't seen in years. But instead of rushing past them, I sit with them. I honor them. Slowing down gives space for reflection, and in reflection, there's healing. It's a gentle kind of healing, not dramatic or flashy, just soft and steady, like a river smoothing out the rough edges of stone. People sometimes ask me, "Don't you get bored?" And honestly, I don't. Because I've learned that boredom isn't the same as stillness. Boredom is restlessness without purpose. Stillness, on the other hand, is full of purpose. It's presence. It's grace. It's learning to live in the moment you're in instead of rushing to the next. I've also become more comfortable saying no. I don't overcommit like I used to. I don't feel guilty about turning down invitations or stepping back from obligations that drain me. It's not selfish, it's self-respect. Slowing down has helped me listen to my own needs and trust my instincts. If something doesn't feel right, I give myself permission to pass. If I need rest, I take it. If I need silence, I seek it. And the surprising thing? People respect you more when you respect your own limits. All of this, every small shift, every tiny pause, has added up to something bigger than I ever expected. A life that feels rooted. A heart that feels calm. A soul that no longer feels like it's racing to keep up with the world. And I want you to know, whoever you are, wherever you are in your life, it's not too late for you, either. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond. Whether you've just retired or you're still working, whether your days feel full or they feel empty. It's never too late to slow down and rediscover peace. You don't need to move to the countryside or meditate for an hour every morning. You just need to take a breath. Notice the world around you. Choose quiet sometimes instead of noise. Choose presence instead of pressure. Choose joy, even if it's hidden in the smallest places. And remember, change doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds. It whispers. It gently invites you to look up, look around, and say, "This moment is enough." If you've related to anything I've shared today, I'd love to hear your story. Leave a comment below. Tell me what slowing down means to you, or how you found peace in unexpected places. I think we learn the most when we listen to each other. And if this video has touched you in some way, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. That small click means the world to me and helps more people like us find content that speaks to the heart. Thank you for spending this time with me. It's been a joy to share this part of my journey with you. Wherever you are, I hope you feel just a little more at ease, a little more inspired, and a little more at home in your own life. Wishing you peace, joy, and the quiet strength that comes from simply being yourself, just as you are, right where you are. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.